with them?
Oh, it's been really exciting, Bob. I really love seeing the questionnaires come into the office and see the processing that goes on. It's amazing what goes into this automated processing. We actually barcode the questionnaires into the computer, just like you would a can of green beans. And so we know every questionnaire that's back in the office as far as their address is concerned. We just have an address in the computer. So they're checked off that address list in the computer. Then they go over to an editing section where they're edited, and people look at them, make sure that everybody completed the form correctly. If they didn't, then they go to telephone follow-up, and somebody calls folks to find out the answers to the questions they didn't answer. And if they did answer correctly, then they go back through and they're barcoded again to tell that they're leaving our office, and they're airborne shipped to Kansas City, where they're actually processed.
Now, every census questionnaire form goes through this entire process. You're talking the entire Douglas, Sarpy, Washington County area. Every individual census questionnaire gets handled in these different phases?
They sure do. Until the time that we actually send enumerators out. At that time, we change the process a little bit. But at this time, for mail-back questionnaires, they all get handled like that.
Now, you touched upon the enumerators, and I know later on in the program we're going to talk about how you do go back and follow up on the people who did not send in their questionnaire forms. Can you tell me, you had touched upon that you barcode, or you identified by the barcode, the addresses of people who did send back their census questionnaires forms. So I imagine that by that barcode also, you know who did not send back their census questionnaire forms.
That's right, and that's pretty vital to us because we want to make sure we count everybody. And we've taken a lot of time to get a correct address list for the three-county area so that we know what addresses are in the counties. And so when we get we check in those addresses, and then we subtract those from our list, and we know who hasn't responded, we can send enumerators out to find out what happened to those questionnaires. So they'll actually call on houses.
Well, then you touched upon, after it goes through the barcode, and you said it goes into an editing phase. I think you go through and edit the forms. So I mean, you process each individual form, you look over the content of each questionnaire?
Well, we actually, more than content, we look for completeness.
Okay.
We do check some things, like, for instance, if somebody makes an error and they put down they were born in 1910, but they're only 20 years old, then
there's a problem.
There is a problem there, and we'll check back on something like that. But more than that, at this point, we just look to make sure everybody's filled in all the boxes where they should.
Well, that seems like a long process. I mean, you're talking quite a few questionnaires. I know it doesn't sound like, Omaha, Nebraska, Douglas, Sarpy, Washington County. It's not very large. But then you start thinking each individual census questionnaire must be a very tedious process.
It's a big process, I'll tell you. It really has increased the population at the Census Bureau, and so we've got a lot of people involved in it. And it is a big process, and it's a big system, but we want to make sure that we get accurate information, good information from everybody, because everybody counts.
Now, I've seen your program, I believe, airs on Public Access Channel 23 Monday nights at 9 o'clock. And I did see you had a show where you did walk through your office and you show the different areas of your show. And I know, I did see a lot of people in the office. Do you do all this work with just limited manpower?
Well, that was a fun show to do. We really walked through the office on a Saturday before we actually had questionnaires coming back into the office. So at that time, we just had a few people coming in. They just trained. They weren't actually getting into the process. Now we're working 24 hours a day. We've got 3 shifts working to do the editing of the questionnaires. We have the telephone assistance line is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night. Telephone follow-up, the people that call back on questionnaires that are missing information, they're there from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night. So we have a pretty busy operation. If you came back now with a camera, you'd see a lot more people. You wouldn't even be able to get the camera in the office.
Well, it sounds almost like a telemarketing operation. You got telephone follow-up, telephone assistance. As far as your assistance lines, let's touch upon that a little bit. What is your assistance lines? Is it there for a complaint line? Is it there to get assistance with the questionnaires? It's more of an assistance type program?
It's more for assistance. We'd like to just have it for assistance, but we'll take complaints too.
Well, I wasn't trying to promote anything, but it sounds like it could be an avenue for somebody who is having a little bit of...
We've gotten a few comments like that. People want to vent their feelings about the long form, especially. We hear a lot about that because when you do open up that long form and there's so many questions on there, and it goes back into depth for the last year or so, and it can be kind of frustrating. I got the long form, and I know how frustrating it can be to fill out, so I understand that. I know when I opened up the form, I thought, oh, good, I got a long form, and then I started to fill it out, and I thought, oh, my goodness.
Why? What is it? What is the selection process for the long form and short form?
Well, actually, it's just a random selection of 1 out of 6 people.
1 out of 6.
That's right. Gets the long form. The rest, everybody else gets the short form. And, of course, the information on the short form, there's 7 basic questions about population and 7 basic questions about housing. And those questions are answered by everybody, 100% of the population. The questions on the long form is just the 1 out of 6 people.
What additional questions might there be on the long form rather than on the short form?
Oh, there's some things about, more specifics about housing. It asks about how many bathrooms you have in your house. There's a question about how many automobiles and light trucks you own in the household. And then there's more information about people. It asks about national origin. I think that might be on the short form on the 100% component. But it goes into depth about employment statistics, asks where you work and how far you have to drive to work. It also has that wonderful income question that generates a lot of controversy. But actually, we feel that the income question just asks about your income for the last year, and it isn't any more than you tell a credit card company when you're applying for a credit card or anything, and they give out that information to anybody, and the Census Bureau won't do that.
Well, how accurate is that? Now, if you ask somebody, what is your income, they're always going to say to the higher side. You ask somebody, how old are you? If they're a little bit older than me, they might cut back a few years to be conservative. How accurate are these numbers?
Now, you know that everyone is honest about their age and income. That's got to be.
Well, I know I am. But there's a few people that might not be.
Well, there's no way we can be sure. But I think people are pretty honest. They stay pretty much within the brackets. They have to give the year they were born as well as their age. And so it's pretty, nobody can ever figure that out, by years. And so if they don't have the right year you're born with the right age, then we see that. But generally, I think people know that this is important. They know that, for instance, genealogical research after 72 years is done on this information. And I had a gentleman come up to me the other day, and he said, where can I get the information about my father? Because his father had passed away, and he didn't know about his background. And he wanted to find out about what his father had done, where he'd lived, some of his life. And the only place he knew of to get that information was from the Census Bureau. So it's a valuable tool to families to be able to do that research.
Well, how do you know what types of assistance or programs the Census Bureau can help you with outside of the every 10-year census? I know I've heard about assistance with the Census Bureau, that there's some salt caverns, I believe, down in Kansas where they store the microfiche down there, and you can go and get your genealogy records down there. Well, is this information put out during the decade where you know where to go get this information? Because I know myself, I've never heard of anything like this before until the census was here.
I didn't know there was salt down there along with the census records. The salt of the ages.
The salt of the ages, maybe.
But yes, the Census Bureau records are stored in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Okay.
And that has been publicized some. I've seen it in some magazines and so forth. But you could always find out everything at the library. That's the best place to go. And the library has a lot of the information. You can go to the genealogical area in the library right downtown here in Omaha and get some of that information. It's also stored at various other places, at state libraries and so forth.
But this is census information.
That's the census information. And of course, everybody talks about the Mormons keeping the census or keeping information about people, and they say that they can go there and get the genealogical information. Actually, that's census records that they use also.
Well, where's my form going? We're going to talk about this because I did not receive a census questionnaire form in the mail. But when I do and I send it back in, where does my form go? Do you destroy it once you've taken the information off of there?
Well, actually, the name is stripped and it goes to statistical data processing at a national level. And so, but it's microfilmed and put into storage so that this genealogical research can be done later, or you can get information about yourself if you have to prove your age or something like that. After 72 years, it's available for anyone.
But you said the name is stripped. Do I get an ID number? Do I get to know what my ID number is?
Actually, that's just statistical information. There's nothing that identifies it to an individual.
Oh, really? So then 72 years down the road, I can go back and take a look at this census questionnaire that I did fill out, or that my father might have filled out, or my grandfather
Yeah,
might have filled out.
that's stored on an individual basis, but that's taken away from the statistical data.
There is a copy of my census questionnaire.
Yes, that's stored in Pittsburgh. But the actual data that goes to be tabulated for the national statistics and the numbers we get and the census information, there's no names attached with that.
That's kind of surprising. I know a lot of people are very concerned of what happens to my questionnaire when it goes. The confidentiality aspect of the census is always well publicized. You know it's confidential. But I've heard so many people, well, how do I know? If I give this to the Census Bureau, I can trust you. I know I can. But where does it go afterwards? It sounds like a lot of the processing is done here at the Omaha District Office.
We do not really any processing of the census information other than just making sure that all the information is there. The processing is actually done in Kansas City where they do the microfilming. It's done on what they call a FOSDIC machine, an optical scanner. And that's the reason that it used to have to be done in pencil. We have good news. They've fixed the machine so that it could actually read pen markings, so we don't have to redo all those that people did in pen. But that optical scanner just reads the information off of there and takes the statistics off. So that the questionnaire can actually be photographed and on microfilm and sent to the storage.
Well, when do we start getting reports from the 1990 census?
Well, the president actually gets a report on a state-to-state basis in December of 1990. So it's that.
Oh, that's quick. That is very quick.
And then in April of 1991, the states will get the information on a block level with, I believe it's population by race. And then after that, then the information keeps coming out for the next several years. So it'll be a few years probably before we get statistics that aren't as important to the political process and so forth. We'll get the information about how many bathrooms you have. And
all that valuable information that we need to know. Well, when does the Complete Count Committee for each individual city or township, when do they take a role in determining whether they accept the information or they can accept and deal with the fact of how many toilets they have in their city?
Actually, the Complete Count Committee is organized by the mayor in Omaha, organized the Complete Count Committee for promotional benefit for the city more than anything else. It's a local jurisdiction, like the city, the mayor actually appoints whoever he wants in his organization to look over the figures. And we've already done one review pre-census with the local governments, and they've looked at the figures by housing unit counts. And they've told us whether they think that we're right or wrong, and we've gone out and checked those. Now, after the census is over in August, when we've actually got good counts in, then we'll send the housing unit counts again and the maps and the block numbers and so forth to all the local jurisdictions again, and Omaha and Douglas County and Sarpy County and Bellevue, all the places will get those counts. They'll review them. They'll tell us whether they think that we're right or wrong, and we'll go out again and double check that because we want to make sure that everybody is satisfied with those counts and that they are accurate.
Going out and double checking the counts, what exactly do? You're not performing the census all over again.
No, what we'll do is on a lot of blocks they'll say we think you're right. They'll probably find one or two blocks that they feel were wrong. And what may have happened is a housing unit may have been geocoded into the wrong block. It may have been geocoded across the street from where it actually exists. So they may show a block with one less housing unit, another block with one more housing unit. What we do is just send somebody out there and take a look and see if it's which side of the street it's actually on, and recode it so that it's actually counted in the right place. That can make a lot of difference as far as federal funding goes in different areas.
Well, for a project of this size, and talking to my friends, my peers, my family, it sounds like everybody did receive a census questionnaire form, except for me. Now, I did not receive my census questionnaire form.
You should have given me a call. I'd have brought one over with me, Bob.
Well, I have you on the air right now. We're going to discuss what we're going to do about that situation.
We could have filled it out right now.
We're coming up to a commercial break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk with Bonnie Griffith from the U.S. Census Bureau Omaha District Office, and we're going to find out what happens when you do not receive a census questionnaire form. We'll be right back.
Parent.
Take your pills, watch your weight, cut down on salt. Be in control of your life by controlling your high blood pressure.
The world is full of kids who need a grown-up for a friend. Become a big brother or big sister, because little people need big people. Like you.
Sure do. Look up Big Brothers, Big Sisters in the phone book today or call this number.
Okay, Revere can start Monday. You know, this is going to mean a lot to him.
Yeah, and I need 2 more people, but I can't afford to train them.
Maybe you can.
Oh?
Yeah. Under the Job Training Partnership Act, when you hire and train the jobless, the government pays up to 50% of the on-the-job training salary. Yeah, our local private industry council could tell you more about it.
You got the number?
Well, I'll look it up.
For information, write the National Alliance of Business, Box 7207, Washington, D.C.
Welcome back to the forum. With me in the studio today is Bonnie Griffith. Bonnie is the District Office Manager for the U.S. Census Bureau here in Omaha, Nebraska. Bonnie, before the commercial break, we talked about the census questionnaire forms. They went out. It's a success. We're getting an accurate count. The questionnaires are coming in. You're processing the questionnaires. Are going out, but there's a problem. I did not receive my census questionnaire form.
We're going to be one short in our census count then. We don't want that to happen, do we? Okay. We do have some safeguards to make sure that we can catch that. We have a couple of operations that are ongoing right now. One of them we're just completing is a blue card operation. That's called that because the post office actually sends us a blue card for every address we've missed. So maybe they caught you, and maybe we'll get you a form then. We're making up labels. Even as we speak, we have some labels that will be coming out and being put on questionnaires, so we'll still be mailing some out now. We also are doing some double checking. We talked with the post office, and they had a lot of undeliverable addresses, and so we've received those in the office. We've sorted them out, and we're going out and delivering those to the doors, actually, so that people get their questionnaires. So we know that there were some problems, some misunderstandings in the delivery process.
Well, that's expected to some degree. I mean, sometimes
well, there's so many,
sure.
in that short a time, and I know it was a lot for the post office to handle. They had to carry all those out in one day, and so we're trying to take care of that and make up for that. And we have our 800 number, so anybody can call 1-800-999-1990 and let them know that you're missing a questionnaire, and you'll go into the process, and we'll check to make sure that you're on our list, and we'll get you a questionnaire, one way or the other.
So now at the airing of this program, the Census Bureau, I think, is going to be gearing towards a non-response operation. Now, what is a non-response operation?
Well, as we talked about earlier, that we have the address list. We're checking in the questionnaires against that address list, and those that haven't sent back a questionnaire yet will print out on a form for us when we cut off, which will be somewhere around April 16th or 17th. And we'll print out this list, and then we'll hire people to actually go out and find those houses where we haven't received a questionnaire and go up to the door and say, what happened? We want to find out what happened to you, and we want to count you. Did you send back your questionnaire? What happened? And then they can assist that resident in filling out the questionnaire and getting all that information so that it'll be taken care of right there.
Now, you said at the tail end of that, you assist the resident in filling out the questionnaire form. So they're going to stay and help fill out the questionnaire form? I mean, they're going to stay the entire time? They're not just going to drop off a census questionnaire form. Here, Bob Martinez, you did not receive your census questionnaire form. Here, I'll be back in a couple of days, or mail it to us.
No, at that point, we've got to get the information into the office because we're getting close. If we're going to get these figures to the president in December, we're going to have to be under some deadlines here. So we are pushing the deadlines at that point, and so we'll actually have an enumerator stand and talk with you and take the information and fill out the questionnaire and bring it right back into the office.
Now, I would help or let somebody help me fill out my census questionnaire form. I don't believe that I need the help, but what if I don't have the time? What if he's catching me just as I'm leaving? I mean, what do I do?
We'll work with that and make an appointment for later. We'll work that out somehow because we want to be accommodating too. But we're hoping that since it only takes about 15 minutes to fill out a short form, and most people get the short form.
Yeah, that's not
and
bad.
Actually, when an enumerator does it, since they've filled out so many, it takes less than that, and it may only take about 7 minutes to do. So most anybody can wait about 7 minutes and put that much time into it to get that form finished and get us off your back.
Get us off your back. Well, I don't take it to that degree. I think we do need it to get filled out, and we do need it to get every household counted. How do we know who the census enumerators are? Now, if somebody comes knocking at my door, can I come in and can I find out how much money you make and how many toilets you have and what's your ethnic background? Now, how do I know that this person is a valid census employee?
That's a good question, and it's one that we get asked a lot because there's a lot of people now, and all of us are the same, I think, that we aren't sure about who comes to our door, and we want to make sure that they're legitimate before we let anybody in or that we even talk to them at the door. I don't think anybody needs to let anybody into the house, just talk to them at the door. But we have all of our census workers are sworn census employees. They've taken an oath of office that they won't divulge anything they learn through the census, and they all have a badge that identifies them as a census employee. Most of the people out in the field will have a red, white, and blue badge that identifies them as a census enumerator. You might see a plain blue badge that identifies a person as a crew leader. That's the person that supervises enumerators. And there's a few people that might be out in the field with a yellow badge. So we have a couple of different kinds of badges, but most of them will be red, white, and blue.
Is there any, and if I still I'm skeptical. Is there any way that I can verify who these people are?
Sure, you can always call our office. Our regular office number is 342-6090. You can just give us a call, and we know who the enumerators are that are out in the field, and we'll verify that person and tell you that it's okay. You can describe them to us and let us know what they have, the ID that they have.
Well, I'm going to unexpectedly play the advocate here. Now, Bonnie, you knocked on my door, and I don't want to fill out the census questionnaire form. I don't have time for it. It's none of your business how much money I make. What are you going to do?
Well, we're going to try and encourage you to cooperate for the good of the community, for your own good, and certainly it is under the law that we do collect the census information. Title 13 of the U.S. Code not only says that we'll protect that information and not divulge it to anyone, it says that people are required to answer the census. And so it is a law that we answer the census, but we won't proceed with that any farther. We just want you to cooperate because it's important. And we'll try and explain some of those things to you, some of the reasons why it's important for the political representation, for the funding that comes to the community, for your own benefit, for the services that will come to the community.
No, it's important, and I believe, and I will send back my census questionnaire form because I'm going to call the office and I'm going to get one sent to me or have an enumerator come to my door. You were talking about the non-response are going to go out. You're going to hire X number of people to go out to the field. Are you still accepting applications for employment?
We sure are. We're glad to have that question.
Well, it sounds like you're going to need, well, I don't know. We're going to get into maybe what type of responses you are getting at this time, but it sounds like you're going to need quite a few people. If you're going door to door, spending 15, 20 minutes at each household, it sounds like you're going to need quite a few people.
Exactly, and as we go through our applicant files, trying to start hiring people for the editing process, for the other processes, those applicant files delete real fast. They go down, or deplete, I should say. And so we don't have as many applicants as what we originally started out with. So we can use applicants anytime, and they can again call the 342-6090 number, and we'd be glad to get them in and get an application and get a skills assessment done so that they can be a Census Bureau employee and have all the fun that I'm having.
Are you having fun? Are you having fun down at the district
I'm having fun. I'm really enjoying it. I've met a lot of neat people.
8 to 5, an hour for lunch, weekends off.
That's federal employees for you, isn't it? At our office, it's a little longer hours than that, and you know, it's amazing. I had somebody come up to me the other day and said that a retired person that was working in our office now, and he said he's worked in a lot of offices and he's never seen people work as hard as what they do at the Census Bureau, and I think that's really great. And we have a lot of good people who are really putting in the time. They see that the census is important. They like being part of an important job, and they really work hard.
Now, the makeup, a large degree of your makeup of your applicant base or your employees, are a lot of them retirees?
We have a great number of retirees, and they're great workers, and we encourage that. We have all kinds of people, though. We encourage everybody to apply because not only retirees, but anyone from anywhere in the community, because we have need for people to work in the areas that they live. We actually, as I said, send people out into every area of Omaha. There'll be somebody in every area, and we need applicants from those areas so that they're familiar with the area. They know where the streets are. They know the houses. They know the people in the area. They may not know them by name, but they're at least familiar with the area. And so we want an indigenous group of enumerators working.
Well, you said these people are from the community. They work in their own community. Hopefully, they're doing it because of the efforts in their community. They're going to be benefits they receive down the road sometime. Now, what type of response are you getting? Are you going to need a large number of enumerators? For the questionnaires that are coming back, what kind of response are you getting?
Well, I think that we're doing well as far as nationwide goes. We're a little below what we'd like to be at this point, and from the feedback that I'm getting from our regional office, we seem to be keeping our nose ahead of some of the other offices as far as response goes, and that's Nebraska for you. Nebraskans are great. They take responsibility, and they like the community involvement, and they think these things are important. So we are getting a good response, but I think probably nationwide, and I can't say that for sure. I'm just estimating, but I know here we'd like to see a little bit more response on the mail back. But by the time this program airs, we'll know for sure what we have in mail back, and we'll be out at the doors. So I guess the important thing at this point is to encourage people to cooperate with the enumerators. It's a very painless procedure, that 7 minutes in helping the enumerator fill out the form and get the information. And like I said, it'll be all over with for another 10 years, so that's not too bad.
I heard a startling bit of information. I heard on one of the national affiliate newscasts that for every 1% return census questionnaire is just going to save the U.S. government $13 million.
I didn't hear the exact figure, but it is in the millions of dollars. 1% makes a big difference.
So somebody complaining about the expenditures of federal monies by not sending their census questionnaire form back is actually helping to promote it.
That's right. And you know, it's easy to say that's federal money, but we've got to look at it a little closer to home than that.
Sure,
It's your money
sure.
and my
It's our
money.
money.
That's right.
So what after the census, Bonnie?
What after the census?
What after the census?
Well, the census for us anyway in Omaha, Nebraska is going to wrap up about October 1990. We'll finish with that local review. We're actually going to do the local review for the state. The other offices in the state will close in August, and we'll be doing the whole state, so we'll probably be a little traveling there at the end. And we'll close up our office in October of 90, and those famous cardboard desks that we have will be folded up and sold for scrap. And we'll empty the office out and send everything back to either be auctioned off, the equipment that is real equipment, and that the cardboard desks will be sold for scrap. So we'll be out looking for jobs.
October of 90, that's not that far away.
No, it sure isn't. It's
For a project of this size, it seems like the census just came and go, and it's here now, and it's going to be gone very shortly. It seems like it's a fly-by-night. Now, I'm not talking a shaky operation, no, but it was very quick, and hopefully very accurate.
It's an amazing process when you think about the growth in that short a time. Anybody who's tried to build a business knows what it's like. And nationwide, there are about 4,000 people that work for the Census Bureau all the time. They're actual full-time employees. And for the 1990 census, there'll be about 500,000 people nationwide. So that's a growth from 4,000 to 500,000. And of course, the offices alone, we have about it's either 8 or 10 regional offices that run the Census Bureau on a year-round basis. And there's about 400 and some offices now. So that's a lot of growth in a short amount of time. And like you say, that it's over, and it's over.
What kind of workforce do you have here in Omaha? I know it's a large workforce. I have been down into your district office. I know it's a very large workforce.
It is a large workforce. Right now we have, talking about the 24-hour shifts running, I don't even know the exact number, but I think it's around 150 employees, maybe even more when we count some of the people that are out in the field. Right now we're doing group quarters enumeration. That's enumerating people in places like nursing homes and dormitories and jails and places like that. I'd say the number is probably closer to 200, 250 right now. Counting all those people, and by the time we get to enumeration out in the field, the non-response follow-up that we're going to do to get the questionnaires back, we'll have about 700 to 800 people working.
Well, you did just count just about everybody. You counted the displaced people. You've counted people in special quarters. You've counted people living on the streets, which is displaced people. You've counted just about everybody. And I wish you luck in the census operations as this program airs. We're just going to be going right into non-response, and I hope that the percentage of non-response is not people that are reluctant to answer the questionnaires. I hope maybe they just didn't know, they weren't aware, and I hope somehow this program helps them to be informed to send back their questionnaire forms.
I hope so too, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak to that and encourage people to respond. If they haven't mailed it back, they can still mail it back. If they don't have it anymore or have lost it or whatever, don't worry, or the numerator will be at the door, and if you don't have that, then give us a call.
Give us a call and you will come and assist us.
That's right, we sure will.
Well, I want to thank you for watching the forum. The forum is produced in conjunction with Cox Cable Public Access Channel 23 and the American GIF Forum of Nebraska. Thank you for watching the show.